Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Actin Bad broadcast, episode 6, and the first official Actin Bad Awards from the 2023-2024 high school season. I ain't gonna lie to you, I had a suit on, I had a little bow tie, I had the full thing, but then once again, I always tell y'all I'm sitting here by myself, talking to nobody, so we gonna have the chain out here. But I'm excited. Today we gonna have the categories are heaters of the year, could have been a mistake, but it wasn't, across enemy lines, beautiful L's, games I wish never ended, and I'll finish with my all performer team. So once again, I appreciate y'all rocking with me each and every week. More and more viewers are coming. So if you're new to the Acting Bad broadcast, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. And as always, comment, talk to me in the comments so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. And I appreciate y'all, man. So let's get it. The 2023-2024 season, just like every other high school basketball season I've covered, goes by way too quick. It goes into the tournament season, straight into district playoffs, goes faster than ever. Congrats to the state champions. I was down in San Antonio for the state tournament. Great experience as always. Just a special time. But without further ado, the Acting Bad Awards. So these awards are going to be given out to players or teams that have been on my Texas Hoops TV YouTube channel or games that I have seen in person. So as I go through these, please comment below in the comments and let me know if there's some performances that meet the criteria that you want to showcase. I can't watch all the basketball, but there's a lot of big time performances on my channel that I really want to feature. So first category. Heaters of the year. That's hard to say. Heaters of the year. And what this means is that these players were on epic heaters. NBA Jam style, he's on fire, taking over the game type stuff. My first one, I went down to Georgetown for the Georgetown ISD tournament, and Hudson Greer from Lake Travis had 29 points in the first half. So when I'm watching this game, I'm like, man, he got to 20 very quickly. And then I'm starting to look. I forget who they're playing, but I'm like, crap. They're starting to blow this team out. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh, this dude, I hope he goes and gets 50. So we had 29 in the first half. They ended up running away in the second half from the team, and Lake Travis got the easy win. But I thought it was going to be special for a second. But 29 points in the first half is a lot of points. And we was all kind of sitting around. I talked to his dad, Josh, at halftime. He was keeping me updated because I thought it was 27. It was 29. It was like, oh, this could be special. But yeah, shout out to that. That's an epic heater. Malik Archie at the Cowtown Invitational, the Cowtown tip-off at North Crowley. I walk in a little bit late because Crowley is like 55 minutes away from me, so I wasn't getting there early. But when I walk in, I look up and I realize, oh, he's going crazy already. I forget how many points he had, but it was enough to be like, oh, whoa. And as I start to open my bag up, he continues to get going. And I was like, oh, this kid's going to score every possession. I finally get my camera out, and he scores like 6 to 8 points at the end of the game. But just one of those, anytime he was touching the rock, I knew it was just going to go in. And it was a plethora of buckets that he was getting. And Mr. Archie, it was his first game of the season, but that's the type of time he was going to be on all season long. So shout out to Malik Archie and McKinney for the heater that you were on in game 1 of your season. So this next one, I was at Hoop Fest, and Hoop Fest, unfortunately, with the media, some of the media there, they're casuals. It's like people going out to the city for New Year's. If you don't cover it a lot, you don't really know what you're looking for. So Stony Point was playing, and I was already annoyed because young bull next to me was like, so who's over here? Who's on this team? I'm like, well, shoot, we got Stony Point, shoot, top 3 in the state at the time. I'm like, well, that's Josiah Mosley. He going to Villanova. He was like, oh, okay. But then all of a sudden, Landon Short, out of nowhere, Hoop Fest, Duncanville Court 1, the arena, started going crazy. And 1 threes, try to catch a body. Landon, you still haven't dunked while I'm covering the game, but I know it's close. But he just went on one of those big time moments where he really had it going. Like I said, the and 1 threes, getting to the lane where people was like, oh, wait a second, who is this dude? So on a big stage, Landon Short was on one of them heaters. And then my final one, Cam Marks at the Alamo City Hoop Fest down in San Antonio. Cam Marks, JP2's point guard. So you know you got to get busy if after the game I'm like, oh, he reminds me of Kyrie Irving. And I had to preface that and be like, hey, now listen, he had number 11 on. He had the leggings, the quick game, the speed in transition, the finishing. No, you know what? Forget it, man. It made sense. He was acting like Kyrie Irving. Just a very special performance from Cam that I wanted to add to my heaters of the year. So now those are my 4. Now y'all are all gonna get your acting bad your acting bad award, but I'm gonna just pick my one heater of the year out of these 4, and I'm going to give it to drum roll. Hudson Greer has to be, just because the feeling of watching that 29 in the first half. First of all, I drove, and I'll talk about that drive to Georgetown a little bit later, but I drove down, I'm at an event, and I'm like, man, it's like a midday game, you know, when you're at the school and the school bells are going off middle of the game and stuff like that. But just sitting there being like, oh, I'm witnessing something special. And I was like, oh, this could get really out of hand just because of the way Hudson plays. It's not just like he's crashing the glass every time he gets a chance to. It was just very special. And one of those times in the moment, I was like, oh, I'm witnessing something special. And I thought it could have been even more special. So Hudson Greer, congratulations, the official Heater of the Year award winner. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. All right, so moving on. The next category is could have been a mistake but wasn't. These are situations as I drive across the state of Texas covering games in different schools, cities, towns where, I mean, I'm human. I'm getting older. Sometimes I'd rather be other places. I'd rather be out on the scene doing a little something, hanging out with the ladies, whatever that may be, seeing the homies, catching whatever it may be. So I went to these games and could have been a mistake, but ended up turning out really, really great. So my first one, driving to Georgetown for the Georgetown ISD event at 6 a.m. for a 9 a.m. game, a 9 a.m. tournament game. Always screams possible disaster. Nobody's in the gym. 2 teams from out of town playing at, just you can't simulate that. And that was between Houston Episcopal and Buda Johnson. I wake up, I'm like, man, let's just go do it. It's a blessing that I get to do this for a living and a career. So I'm not complaining, but driving down from Dallas to Georgetown at 6 a.m., I was like, man, I hope they just play hard. And both teams went at it. Justin Begg, going in and out and one, shimmy, shimmy, cocoa, puff. Sam McKinney had 30 and 10, back and forth game, fun game. Jackson Vandergaard was doing his thing. A lot of highlight plays. Ended up being a great game for my YouTube and set the tone for my time in Georgetown. So I want to thank both of those teams for that 9 a.m. blessing that I had, because I could have got down there and been like, man, why am I here? But y'all really showed up and showed out. So I appreciate y'all on that. So you get the could have been a mistake but wasn't award. Well, yeah, you get the award one. We'll decide who gets the full award at the end of my next 2. So the next one was, this could have been a mistake, but wasn't. Circling a muddy parking area at St. Mark's for the St. Mark's Green Hill matchup. And if y'all were there that night, it was raining. I guess y'all are doing some construction at St. Mark's to your parking lot. It was a mess. We was in that. We was in that gravel. I just got the brand new whip, and I was really not trying to get it all dirty and muddy. But it's a Jeep Grand Cherokee, so we was off terrain. But anybody that was there, it was just chaos. I got there right. I finally found a parking spot, left some folks out to dry, unfortunately. But hey, I'm there to do a job. I wasn't there to be a fan, so I didn't feel that bad. Got in there. I mean, was one of the greatest games of the year on my Tech Soups TV YouTube channel. Luke Liskowski went crazy. The gym was rocking. The fans were going crazy. Thompson was going crazy back and forth. Dylan Watt, crazy times, man. Back and forth game. Luke Liskowski hits a big shot to send the game to overtime. St. Mark's wins it in a raucous atmosphere. And I'm not going to lie to you, I started circling. It was a Friday night. I was like, you know what? Maybe this game just ain't for me. So I was probably 2 or 3 minutes away from being like, you know what? Nah, we we just gonna go on back to the crib. But I'm glad I didn't. Big time performances by both those teams, and I was really glad I stayed. And then the final one was getting to Lancaster an hour early for Lancaster Waxahachie. Now I should know better not to check max preps for my start times, but I did, and I got there. It was an 8 o'clock tip, and I thought it was a 7 o'clock tip. But luckily, I was very intrigued because the JV game was very good. Some of those prospects in that game were actually at our next gen showcase a couple weeks ago. So it was great to see that talent, fun back and forth game, and then I loved the game, the varsity game. Parker Jefferson was great. Dilla Batee going back and forth at it. Amari Reed, Desmian Jones was great. King Grace. Just a back and forth game between two high level programs. And at the time, I didn't realize I was looking at the 5A state champ at Lancaster. So I'm glad I got to see them early on this season. You can see a lot of the players started to kind of figure some things out that night for Lancaster. DeAndre Barrett, who was big time at the state tournament. Just a great game with a lot of next level prospects. And I'm glad that although I was early and sucking my teeth in the stands, waiting for the game to start, it could have been a lot worse. So those are my three could have been a mistake, but wasn't nominees. And I'm going to give the official award to the parking lot at St. Mark's. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. You're going to get the official award just because on a Friday night, I had been, by that time, midway through the season, I'm covering a lot of games. I could have easily just been like, you know what, let me go get me a margarita or an old fashioned. Let me go see some folks and hang out and start my weekend. But you know what? The game was great, and there was nowhere else I would have rather been than right there. So shout out to St. Mark's and Green Hill. Hopefully St. Mark's, y'all got that parking situation handled because it was chaos. So moving on to our next category, across enemy lines. These are going to be performances that I covered where the road team had a dude or dudes really go crazy across enemy lines. Road games are hard to win, and these three nominees stood out. And that's K. Dotson at Allen. So this wasn't a true road game because it was the Allen Invitational, Holiday Invitational. But Beaumont United came up and played Allen in the championship game. And K. Dotson had 9 threes and went crazy. Cade's, unfortunately, with that injury, Beaumont United got all the way to the state tournament, but Cade couldn't play. You're going to always be curious what could have been in the Stony Point game. But that day against Allen, at Allen, where Allen's rolling, looking really, really good, for Cade to do what he did and do it like a savage. I mean, the threes he was hitting were just unbelievable, and he don't make no faces. Maybe did a shrug here and there, but he was a bad boy, getting a huge win, a big momentum win for Beaumont United at Allen, which is a huge, huge event every year. So congrats to K. Dotson as one of my cross-enemy line nominees. My next one, Brooks Bar at South Lake Carroll on my birthday. I knew somebody needed to put on a show. It's a rivalry game. Two very prideful communities. Keller at South Lake Carroll. And Brooks Bar took the game over. It was a low-scoring game, so I was kind of getting nervous about what I would get from it. But, I mean, Brooks was just being a bad dude, and he knows he's my favorite player in Texas to cover. So on my birthday, he put on a show, got chippy with the student section, and just made for a really, really fun night. So shout out to you, Brooks Bar, and that Keller team for handling business at South Lake Carroll. And my third and final nominee for Across Enemy Lines, Bo Ogden and Aiden Daisu at Antonian. So I was down in San Antonio visiting family, and I was able to catch Austin St. Michael's at Antonian. Big time game. Max George, Isaiah Fox over at Antonian. Bo Ogden, Aiden Daisu went crazy in a really, really fun, high scoring game. But Bo Ogden, Aiden Daisu put the team on their back, made some plays down the stretch, and got it done. Aiden should have had the dunk of the year, the body of the year, but missed it. But just a high level performance by those two. And it's tough to win on the road. And that was a high level taps game that I was glad I was a part of. But shout out to both teams. But Bo Ogden, Aiden Daisu, across enemy lines, got that win. So those are my three nominees there. So as much as Brooks Bar is my birthday, that's cool. Bo Ogden, Aiden, if you would have made that dunk, you know what I'm talking about. You could have, but no, this one, the Actin Bat Award goes to K Dots and 9 threes. That game was a big defining game for Cade. A lot of dudes have come through Beaumont United. Cade was the floor general there, and he got a big time win there. And that Beaumont United team, they were for real. Shout out to them on a great season. And Allen is loaded, so that's a huge win. So K Dotson, clap it up. You are my Across Enemy Lines Actin Bad Award winner. So congrats to you. So moving on, before I start this next topic, I'm not looking at any highlights. Luckily, I was at all these games, so I'm just able to talk off experiences. I don't know what I'm going to put on, as maybe I'll put some pictures, some video clips, but we'll do something. Once again, I'm the editor of this whole situation, so I don't be knowing, man. I don't be know what I'm doing on this. I'm just talking, but I'm having a good time doing it. I hope y'all having a good time listening. So my next category, this is a very fun one. It's called Beautiful L's. So when I was going through what I wanted to talk about, there was a lot of performances, but I was like, well, dang, he was hooping, but they ended up losing the game. So I don't really want to make them my top performers. So I was going back and forth. So I decided to come up with this category, Beautiful L's, on players who had huge performances, but ended up taking the L or a close L in it. So we'll start early on the season. Keontae Graybear and Frisco Emerson versus the Colony, a very high-level game full of 2026s all over the court. You have Graybear, you have Sanderson, you have Xavier Green, Dakari Spear, Bryce Dixon. Back and forth game. I mean, the Colony started popping them boys. I'm not going to lie to you. And Keontae kind of went into F it mode where they was down so much. He's like, hey, I got to start jacking some shots and seeing what happens. And I promise you, they was down almost 20. He brought them all the way back, took the lead. And they had all the momentum. He went up for a dunk, fell on his wrist. And that's where he got hurt for a couple weeks. But, I mean, I'm not afraid to say it. If he doesn't get hurt, the momentum Emerson had, they probably would have got that win. But Keontae Graybear, after a fall GASO where, I'm not going to lie, he probably put the country on notice with some of the plays he made. He put people on even further notice in that game. Unfortunately, took an L, but it was a beautiful L nonetheless. So shout out to you, Keontae. My next one, Jaden Leverett, El Paso Chapin versus Faith Family at Alamo City Hoops event down in San Antonio. So I was with Jaden this past weekend at the state tournament, and we was talking about, and in my mind, I was like, didn't you hit a game winner versus Faith Family? He's like, no, I tied it. I was like, oh, that's right. He tied it. Then Jazz Henderson came down, hit a game winner for Faith Family. But that game was electric. Him and Dorian Overchukwu going back and forth. Just 6'10", 7-footers with high-level skill. Leverett hit three or four threes. The footwork was good, blocking shots. I went back to the GASO guys, and I'm like, oh, this is one of the top bigs in the state, if not the country. Great coming out party for him. And unfortunately, they did lose that game to Faith Family, who ended up winning state. It was a beautiful, beautiful L by you, Jaden Leverett, and El Paso Chapin. Next one, I told y'all earlier, Brooks Barr is my favorite player to cover, so he's gonna make a few different categories. He like the Taylor Swift of this mall. You hear me? Just nominees. So this game at the Champions tournament, the holiday tournament, formerly the Whataburger, you had Keller versus Stony Point. So there was a collision course for part one between Stony Point and Plano East, but Stony Point had to get past Keller, and Keller wasn't playing around, and Brooks Barr led the charge there and gave Stony Point everything they can handle. When you're doing the rock and the baby over here against one of the top teams in the state and getting anywhere you want, he could have easily been on my heaters list, and now would have made 3 nominees. Like I said, he's the Taylor Swift, the Beyonce, the Drake of award shows, whatever. But he was on another level. It was so much fun. Back and forth. It wasn't even. I'll say this: Keller kept the game really, really close. And Brooks Barr had big time moments, and most of the time was the best player on the court. In that game. So they did take an L, but it was a confident L, knowing that they could play with anybody in the state, and they showed that, and that was a very, very beautiful L. So my final nominee, Parker Jefferson at Duncanville. Parker's just been one of those guys where I talked about on our GASO cast earlier. It's like, okay, yeah, Parker had the injury. He's not quite looking like himself. Oh, he's starting to make some plays now. Fast forward to the body starting to figure it out. Wow, his conditioning starting to show up even more. To, oh, he's taking over parts. Oh, he's back. Parker Jefferson is back, and he showed that against Duncanville in a really, really fun game where King Grace unfortunately didn't play, so Parker had to almost fully take over, and he was just so electric. You could just tell. Fans of basketball, even Duncanville fans, are like, oh, this boy's going crazy. I forget what his stat line is, but it was a big boy stat line, and just very happy to see Parker start to get back to where he was, because I remember him as a freshman. We don't do freshman rankings, but I was like, oh, that's the best player in the state, easy. So good to see him getting back to that and climbing up. Not just rankings. The rankings don't matter. It's more of Parker knows what type of player he is and what type of player he can be. So just to see the hard work he's putting in, because recovery's hard, rehab's hard. I have 3 screws in my left foot. I really didn't know how to recover properly to get back to the playing shape I need to be in. So I'm just very happy for Parker, and that was a great performance. And unfortunately, Duncanville did win that game, but it was a beautiful L by Parker Jefferson. So all 4 great nominees, and all 4 get beautiful L Actin Bad Awards, but the official Actin Bad Award for the most beautiful L of the season is going to go to Keontae Graybear, that first game versus the Collins, just because of how silly they were just down, and he just had to get hot, and he was like, well, shoot, we either going to lose by 40 or we about to make something happen right now. And he brought him all the way back in just epic fashion. So much fun to watch. In a high-level game against other high-level prospects. Just a great performance by Keontae Graybear. So congrats to you. Clap it up, Keontae Graybear. So moving on. Shoot. I don't even know how long I set my camera to record, but we got to go. We got to go kind of fast. It's fun to talk about these because I was there in the moment, so I have plenty to say about each one. But the next category, we have 2 more categories. Games I wish never ended. These were just games I was at. I was like, man, this is so much fun. Speaks for itself. I wish the game was still going on. So the first one, Plano East at Allen versus Allen at Cowtown. The first event that I start my year off every year. Both teams were super deep. I knew Plano East was going to come in and play physical. After what I saw from them at TABC, Allen's deep, athletes all over the place. They were just going back and forth. I was filming. I felt like I was sweating because of just the energy. I was like, there's no way these teams can continue this pace. And they just continued all the way to the 4th quarter. And just in case you were wondering, Plano East is 40-0, so they didn't win that game. But Allen showed right away that they were going to be serious contenders with just so many different weapons there. And just such a fun game to start off my high school season that weekend at Cowtown. Great game. Next game, Dallas Kimball versus W.T. White. The first game at W.T. White, yeah. Just the amount of dunks. It was unbelievable. Just the athleticism. There was nowhere in the state that night that had more athleticism, more dunks on both ends. Blocks, collisions at the rim. Dudes was having to make business decisions. It was just an electric atmosphere. One of my favorite games of the season. And then my third game, Leander Rouse versus San Antonio Veterans Memorial. I had this game circled on my calendar as a potential second round playoff matchup. Second or third. I don't be knowing, talking live through this. But I knew I was going to be there. I ended up being at Buda Johnson. Just a high-level chess match game. Both teams made just crazy runs. Both teams you just look up all season long. You're like, they just find a way. And that night, San Antonio Veterans Memorial found a way to send Leander Rouse home in a back-and-forth game to where multiple times in that game I was like, you know what? This team's going to win it, right? They're going to run away with it now. And then the team would come back. And then I was like, oh. So you just never knew. And those are the great games that you want to be a part of where as an evaluator, as a media guy that's seen a lot of high-level basketball, you just don't really know what's going to happen. Even you can guess. But so 3 very good nominees. I'm going to have to say I'm giving the game I wish never ended to Dallas Kimball W.T. White. There's always good basketball, but there's just not always just absolute freaks, that are playing above the rim like that. Just insane athleticism. And when you can impress somebody like me that's seen everything, I've been to the EYBL, I've been to the USA mini camps, I've done all that. So I've seen a lot of big time dudes, NBA. I'm in the gym with NBA dudes all summer long. I know what it looks like. So when you're doing that at a high level and you're impressing me, yeah, that's the one. So clap it up, Dallas Kimball W.T. White. Great performances by y'all. So my final one, this is just my all performer team. These are my 4 favorite performances from the season that just piqued my eye. So my first one, Amir McMillan versus Lake Travis at the Allen Holiday Invitational. This was one where Lake Travis, we were looking at Lake Travis, Allen, Beaumont United, all 3 of those teams. And here comes Mansfield Lake Ridge before district, comes and hits Lake Travis in the mouth. And Amir McMillan, after a great EYBL session with Pro Skills this past summer, stole the show, just asserted himself as, oh, yeah, hey, I know that Duncanville and Waxahachie, they're in our district, but watch out for us. And guess what? They got all the way to state. So seeing that in real time, I was like, oh, this team's for real. And the way they play and how physical they were and just the shiftiness Amir McMillan had was special to watch. So that's one. Zach Day versus St. Michael's in the state semifinal of TAPS. Zach Day got his lick back. This could have easily been on Heaters of the Year. He got his lick back, Midland Christian. I was talking to y'all all year on social media, excited to cover this game. That boy, once he started hitting it, nothing you can do. So always great to see those storylines where a kid like that as a senior gets to the state final and then wins the state final. So shout out to you, Zach Day, and the Midland Christian squad. My next one, Dakari Spear versus Longview. When you look at a sophomore that needed to take over a game, the Colony is full of just a lot of young talent. They get to the regional tournament, and you're like, all right, well, they're playing this veteran Longview team, and it was kind of quiet at the beginning, and you needed kind of somebody to step up, and Dakari just was like, you know what, give me this ball, I'm going to take over, and I'm going to go get 30, and we're going to get to the regional final. Look out for the Colony. They went on such a deep run this year that they got so much experience, and Dakari Spear is one of the baddest dudes across the country, and was a very special performance. And I'll finish with Josiah Mosley versus Duncanville. You didn't really know what Duncanville was going to be this year, but they took the drive down to Stony Point in one of the most raucous atmospheres that I've seen all season long. And Josiah Mosley led Stony Point to one of the most impressive wins, just a dominant performance. Just unbelievable. Words can't even explain what that was. Stony Point had something special. They got all the way to state this year, ran into Plano East, but that game right there told the state, the country, and then the community that Stony Point and Coach Antoine Thompson and Josiah Mosley, the best player in Texas, that they were for real. So all 4 of y'all get my all performance badges, whatever you want to call them, awards. But no, this was fun. I'm running out of time. Comment below if you know some players that are deserving of an Actin Battle Award from these categories. But what an amazing season. Excited now for the GASO season. We'll be doing a lot of content from the GASO. Excited to see all of y'all playing in GASO events this year. And until next time, man, this is the Actin Bad broadcast, and I'm Michael Timmons. Peace. Ain't no stopping the champagne from popping. This is the life.